Arman Sarukian takes on Dan Hooker this upcoming weekend. But before we get into that, let's talk about Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Mikado Gary. Obviously, this is a very interesting matchup because we have Ian Gary, who is actually a very decent mixed martial artist, and we have Bilal, who is also a decent mixed martial artist. In this fight, I do think Bilal is going to be pressuring Ian quite a lot. But I think what Ian is going to do very well is using his lateral movement because Ian moves quite a lot and he does well with the lateral movements. So I feel like it's going to be a game of Ian on the back foot, moving, picking his shots, moving, and Bilal is going to keep pressuring him, trying to get the takedowns and mixing his striking. I do think he probably will be able to take Ian Gary down, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep Ian Gary down, to be completely honest. I just think, especially with the current state of the welterweight division, I think these young and upcoming guys are just killers, man. And they're all just hungry, which really makes the welterweight division a very interesting division. It's a hard one to pick because obviously Bilal is good at what he does and he's beaten some top guys. It's just I think Ian, ever since the Shavkat loss, I just think he's leveled up his IQ, he's leveled up his fighting style. I'm not even the biggest fan of him, but one thing you can't take away from Ian Gary is he has good IQ. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. I'm leaning more towards Ian Gary. I think the movement is going to cause Bilal a lot of problems because he actually hasn't fought anyone that moves the way Ian Gary moves. So I'm going Ian Gary by decision. I do think, though, apparently Bilal asked for 5 rounds, and I do think if this was a 5 round fight, I would lean more towards Bilal winning that. But because it's 3 rounds, I think Ian Gary is going to be able to move around, pick his shots, move around, pick his shots, and outpoint Bilal to a decision. So I'm going with Ian Gary to get it done by decision. Like I said, if it was 5 rounds, I would have gone for Bilal Muhammad. But we move on to the main event, which is obviously Arman Sarukian versus Dan Hooker. These guys have had a lot of back and forths online in recent months. Obviously, Dan Hooker has been talking a lot of shit, but I just feel like my guy Arman Sarukian is the best fighter in the lightweight division. I do think if there's anybody in the current lightweight division that can take the belt off Ilia Topuria, it is Arman Sarukian. Obviously, we know Ilia's boxing is better than everyone else's in that division, but I still feel like Arman Sarukian is the guy to dethrone Ilia Topuria if anybody is. And Dan Hooker, good fighter, he's gonna bring the pressure, but ultimately I just don't think he's gonna be able to deal with the ground and pound and the wrestling of Arman Sarukian. We're talking about a guy that has actually, till this day, him, Dustin Poirier, and Alexander Volkanovski have given him his hardest fights of his given Islam hardest fights of his career. So I genuinely think the wrestling is a big factor because Dan Hooker against Islam, look what Islam did to him. I believe it was on short notice, but still, I don't think there's anything Hooker has to offer Arman Sarukian that Sarukian wouldn't have seen before and wouldn't be well prepared for. So it's a 5 rounder, but I genuinely see Arman Sarukian getting a finish in probably the 3rd or 4th round with ground and pound. I don't really see it being a submission. I would say ground and pound. I genuinely don't see any other outcome. Dan Hooker may be able to. The thing is, Dan Hooker thrives in scraps. So if it turns into a scrap, that's where Dan Hooker's going to do well. And if he wants to win, he's going to have to turn it into a scrap. But I just think Arman Sarukian, his game, the way he's going to come out and his game plan, I just feel like he's going to do what he needs to do to avoid it turning into a scrap. And Dan Hooker's not the most technical guy, if we're being honest. So, you know, I got to go with my guy Arman Sarukian. I think Arman Sarukian is going to get the job done. And if he gets the job done, that means he should be next in line for the belts. You know, I don't want to see any more time wasting. That's the fights I want to see in that division. Ilia Topuria versus Arman Sarukian. Because I'm going to be honest, guys, yeah? Even when Islam was in the division, it's only Arman Sarukian that can challenge him. And some people are going to call me crazy. When it comes to the wrestling and the ground stuff, Islam, I would say, is a better submission artist. But Arman Sarukian has very good ground and pound. I feel like his ground and pound is very, very underrated. And that's why I feel like in this Dan Hooker fight, I believe Islam beat him by submission. I just think Arman Sarukian is going to get the takedown and ground and pound. And I do feel like most guys that Arman Sarukian would take down in the lightweight division, he would be able to finish them with ground and pound. So I'm going to go with Arman Sarukian to get this done in the 3rd or 4th round by a TKO, ground and pound. I genuinely don't think Dan Hooker has anything to offer. Like, he's been talking a lot online saying, if I beat Arman, it's going to make him look shit, this, that, and other. But, buddy, you ain't beating Arman Sarukian. Like, you ain't. Sorry, bro. You lost to Michael Chandler, bro. Respectfully, that was a good fight, but your peers in that division, they will beat Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler lose to everybody, as Islam would say. So I genuinely think this is a bit of a mismatch. Don't get me wrong, it'll be competitive for a while. Maybe for the first round, it will be quite competitive. He'll come out, get the better of Arman Sarukian with the striking. Then second round, Arman Sarukian will get into his flow, start mixing in his striking with the wrestling. He'll get the takedown, and ultimately finish with the ground and pound. I don't see this going the distance, especially the way Dan Hooker fights. Dan Hooker leaves it all on the line. He wants a good scrap, so I genuinely don't see this going the full 5 rounds. I'm saying, like I said, 3rd or 4th round, Arman Sarukian, TKO finish. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your predictions, who you think wins, and like and subscribe as usual.